Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and today's video where I basically will be recommending the first two, this is my first recommendations for after Girls of Paper and Fire. We're gonna divide this up into two parts. I have 25 recommendations. I will be recommending the first 13 today and then the next 12 tomorrow. So let's begin. And the first three, no surprise here because I always recommend them in a bundle, are Throne of Glass, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I recommend these in a bundle all the time, and I'm pretty sure you're tired of me talking about them. But hey, what can I say? I'm a Sarah J. Maas stan. I made it very clear in one of my reviews for Throne of Glass, linked below. So, Throne of Glass follows Aelin Galathynius, I'm sorry, I did this wrong. Aelin is her later name, but we follow the Otterland's most powerful assassin, Selena Sardathian, and she has been serving a year in the salt mines of Endovier for her crimes against the Empire. But the prince of said empire, the crown prince, comes to the island, to the mines of Endovier, and basically makes a deal with her. He asks her to be his champion in his father's tournament, and his father has gotten into his head that he needs a champion or an assassin, basically, and he's like, okay, if you can be my champion, I'll grant you your freedom. And basically, like, her freedom will be granted in 4 years if she wins. So she now has to compete against 23 other men. They're like warriors, thieves, soldiers, common people, and whatever. But it's basically kind of like a variety of 23 men, and she is the only girl in the tournament. She now has to compete to win her freedom. However, one of the players is killed, and then another. And now she has to solve the mystery of who's killing the players, and basically be careful, make sure she stays alive. A Court of Thorns and Roses starts off as a traditional Beauty and the Beast retelling before it kind of changes to something else entirely. So we follow Feyre, who kills a fairy, or a fey male, I guess you can say, and she is taken to the Feylands to basically Prythian in order to pay for her crime by Tamlin. However, there she starts kind of seeing that things are a little bit different for them and that there is a blight upon the land, and now she has to break a curse. House of Earth and Blood, which is the only book out as of this recording for Crescent City. The second book, House of Sky and Breath, will be coming out February 15th. Yes, I will make sure to be reviewing it, do not worry, because of course I am. But basically, we follow Bryce Quenlin. She has a reputation of being a party girl and all the very fun stuff, and one night she goes out but comes back to discover her friends dead. 2 years after that, the person that killed her friends or whoever killed her friends basically, is active again, and she ends up working with an angel, Hunt Athalar, and in order to solve who killed her friends before and basically who's doing it now. The angel, Hunt or Orion, is basically doing this in order to have basically less, to try to gain his freedom, or have less to kind of like basically have less things tying him down in his freedom, basically. I don't know how to explain it. So those are, of course, they're going to be recommended at the same time. But number 4 is one I haven't talked about a lot in this channel. I don't even remember mentioning it, and that is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. And if I mentioned it, I'm sorry. I just can't remember if I mentioned it or not. But basically, we follow two characters from two opposite sides, Laia and Elias. Laia is a scholar, and basically her people are under the Martial Empire, and they basically kind of make them suffer. They're basically enslaved they're basically enslaved to the Martial Empire, and they have and her brother, Laya's brother, is caught with this sketchbook, and he has he basically has like detailed ways of making these weapons, these with martial steel, and he is then taken, and Laya seeks out the resistance in order to rescue him, but they give her an impossible mission, and that is to spy on the commandant of Blackcliff, which is the military academy. And in the military academy, we follow Elias, who is in the Empire, but hates it with a passion. Like, he wants to leave. He doesn't want to be in the Empire. He's even plans to escape, but then he meets Laya, and he's also thrust into this tournament, not a tournament, like a trials, because the next emperor now has to be chosen. So, yeah, we follow these two characters. And it turns very interesting because it is a quartet. Okay, the next 3 reads I'm going to recommend are Darken, The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, and the Camelot Rising trilogy by Kiersten White. So, Darken is kind of hard to explain. I don't even know how to properly explain the plot for Darken. I've tried, and I'm pretty sure I failed every time. But we follow these 2 siblings who are sent to the Ottoman Empire court, and they meet the Prince Mehmed, and we kind of follow the relationship as it builds for both of them, and we follow their lives throughout the series as they kind of diverge in a way. I don't know how else better explain it. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein is a Frankenstein retelling, but in Elizabeth's point of view, and we follow her because Victor disappears, and she's kind of like on a search to find him, and more things happen. Also hard to explain it because I haven't read it in all, but the Camelot Rising trilogy, which I read very recently, so it'll be easier to explain, follows Guinevere, except she isn't Guinevere. It's kind of like an Arthurian reimagining, but in this one she's not Guinevere. She is a changeling who has basically been asked to protect Arthur as his queen. So she marries him, and everybody thinks she's Guinevere. So she ends up having to try to protect him in this court, as well as trying to maneuver her way, basically trying to maneuver her deception as well. And that was fun to follow. So yeah, that was very fun to follow. My next read is Hell's Library by A.J. Hackwith. I will be linking that as well below if you want to see it. But basically it starts off following the librarian Claire Hadley, and Brevity and Leto, who turns out to be a demon. And they end up, Leto ends up kind of stumbling to the library to give her a bit of a message, but then we follow her as we find out that a book character went missing, and he's in the mortal realm, or the mortal world. So then they have to go and track it down, and then realize more is happening in there. So, okay. The next read I have is the duology Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. I did review it. I'll be linking that below. So I expect a couple links from me in this part. But we follow Tarisai, who basically is kind of like half genie, because she was conceived by her mother and kind of like a genie. I forgot the words, the Melu, I forgot the right words, but basically she has basically, her mother, when she was 11, makes a wish on her, or gives her an order to basically go to the capital, and basically go to the capital, become one of the prince's one of the princes, I guess, like, become part of his council, and basically become part of, like, and basically, once he gives you the ray, it means kind of like he loves you. It's very hard to explain the ray. It's kind of like, it's only compatible with certain people. So basically, if she gives, once the prince loves her, the order she has is to kill him. She's basically, like, programmed to do it. Like, she can barely refuse the order. And now we kind of watch her try to get herself back from all of that and trying not to become the person, her mother programmed her to be. It's very interesting. The next two reads I'm going to recommend are Divergent and Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. Pretty sure I talked about these enough too. But hey, who knows? So Divergent, we follow Tris Pryor. When she turns 16, she has to take this test in order to figure out what faction she belongs in. This world, it takes place in Chicago, and it is like, divided into 5 factions. Abnegation, Erudite, Dauntless, Candor, and Amity. And Tris is in Abnegation, which is basically, each of them has like a trait, and Abnegation is the for people who are extremely selfless, and basically she qualifies in 3 of these factions when she takes this test, which makes her a Divergent. But Divergent people are basically haunted, so basically it's not good to be Divergent. And because of that, she now has to keep things secret. But when she ends up choosing her faction, she starts falling in love. She starts having like attraction or falling in love with Four, who is her instructor. And other things are also happening, but the romance is just beautiful. Carve the Mark follows these 2 characters. Akos and I forgot the female name. Like, it's like right in my head, but I can't remember. But basically we follow these 2 characters. Akos is taken from his home and taken to the with the Shotet people, and he has to serve I guess it would be like the princess almost, or lady in a way, of the Shotet people. And he has to basically, these people have like gifts, and her gift is pain. She can basically deliver pain, but she also feels a lot of pain. And his gift is that he can kind of cancel out other gifts, so he can cancel out her pain. So he's basically there to serve her mainly. And they kind of build a friendship and build a romance, and other things happen in that duology as well, which I'm not going to spoil. My next recommendation is the Kyoshi Novels by F.C. Yee, and contributions, of course, by Michael Dante DiMartino. But basically, it is the rise of Kyoshi, the shadow of Kyoshi. We basically follow, this is kind of like a prequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we follow Kyoshi in her Avatar journey. I'm pretty sure there are supposed to be more books than this, because it wouldn't make sense for them to leave it the way it did, not give her more books. But if anything, I'm hoping there are more, because there's only 2 right now. And then the last thing I want to recommend for now is Dragon Ball. Now we're moving into the watch list, everyone. But Dragon Ball follows Goku, who used to live in the woods, and he meets Bulma, who basically kind of almost kills him and crashes into him. And she's looking for the Dragon Balls, these orbs that are basically capable of granting you pretty much any wish, obviously within the dragon's power. And she wants his 4-star ball, which he refuses to give her because it's like his grandfather gave it to him. However, she makes a deal that he would come with her, and he also would serve him as her bodyguard, but he would let her borrow the ball. And that's how they end up going to that's how Goku ends up leaving his small place and going into a bigger world and basically learning about it. And the adventure begins for him. So those are all my recommendations for now. Come back tomorrow for 12 more, and I will see you then. But if you have any more recommendations, let me know. I'll have the Girls of Paper and Fire reviews linked below, as well as every other recommendation I gave. If I have anything on them, I'll give you to them in the description, like if I plan to review them or not, all the very fun stuff. So let's shoot. I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, consume stories.